Welcome everyone. If this is your first time joining, we are happy to have you. If this is you have joined us before, welcome back. We know that during this time, the pandemic, there are so many options. I don't know about you, but if I accepted all the invitations, I might be on Zoom all day long. So thank you so much for joining. Let me just back up and tell you a little bit about what we're doing here today. We gather once a month. We hold 2 meetings a month for Conscious Capitalism Connecticut chapter. This one right here happens on the first Thursday of every month, and it's the Youth Mentor Series. And really what it is you are never too young or too old to be a mentor. So we understand that your generation is the ones that are going to determine our future. So to have you involved with the conscious capitalism and the 4 tenets and 4 principles is so important. But I am over thrilled really to be able to introduce and bring to you all Narrative 4, N4, if I may say that, the nickname N4. N4 is a global network of educators, students, and artists who use art and storytelling to build empathy between students while equipping them to improve their communities and the world. I was so very impressed to understand and to really hear the core mythology behind N4. It's really the story exchanged, designed to help students understand their voice, how your voice can be heard through stories and actions, and that really lives matter, and that you have the power, the students have the power to make real change, rebuild, and revolutionize systems. As Glenn said, conscious capitalism, we believe at the heart of everything, culture is the heartbeat of the business. And so what our 4 tenets strive to do is really build trust between a company's team members and its stakeholders, and understand, like yourself, N4, that voices and story and action and lives matter. So through empathy, conscious companies have the power to not only change and rebuild, but also revolutionize the way that we interact and the way that business is through the world. But today we're going to take a step forward in the journey by learning through N4's eyes, through the student's eyes and experience, how we can use empathy as a real tool, not only in the workplace, but in the culture and society as well. So with that, I'm going to do a quick introduction of Alondra. I'm very happy that you are joining us and kind of leading us today. Alondra became involved with N4 in 2013 while she was a junior at Newtown, Connecticut, excuse me. Within the last 7 years, she's transformed from a student ambassador to a facilitator, a master practitioner, love that, intern, and is currently Narrative 4's program assistant. In 2019, Alondra graduated from the University of Connecticut, my alma mater of UConn, with a degree of psychology and speech, language, and hearing sciences. So without further delay, I'm excited, Alejandra, and I will pass it over to you to introduce the rest of our guests today that you have joining us.
Sure. Thank you so much, Heather. I really appreciate it. And we're so excited to be here and to have Conscious Capitalism and Narrative 4. So as Heather stated prior, Narrative 4, we are a global nonprofit organization, and we utilize the power of our story exchange methodology to improve lives, communities, and the world. And the majority of the people that we work with are actually young adults. So 90% of our work is done in middle schools, high schools, and in colleges. And with that, I would like to have our field exchange students, which is a part of N4 that we do as well. I would love to hear their voices and have them introduce themselves. So we'll start out with Ethan. Ethan, if you don't mind, tell everybody your name, where you are from, and how you got involved with Narrative 4.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ethan Wright, and I'm a part of the field exchange. And not only that, but I'm the vice committee chair for the Narrative 4 Globetrotters. And I got involved with Narrative 4 my sophomore year, and I'll never regret it.
Thank you, Ethan. We'll go to Kaytlin.
My name is Kaytlin, and I'm from Kentucky. I got involved with Narrative 4 in middle school. I was brought up to the high school where they had started the Narrative 4 program, and we did a object exchange, and it was just like really something that I was interested in, and yeah.
Thank you, Kaytlin. We'll go to Kareem.
My name is Kareem. I am from the Bronx, New York, and I got involved with Narrative for my junior year. We were just going around, and I was speaking to Lillian about it, and we were able to connect with each other. And I started out as learning about the program, and eventually like becoming a student ambassador for the school.
Thank you, Kareem. Go to Johnna.
Hi, my name is Jonah Spears. I am a senior at Floyd Central High School in Eastern Kentucky. I got involved with Narrative for my sophomore year when we actually got to, well, I wasn't a part of the field exchange at the time, but when the kids from the Bronx the first time got to come to Kentucky, I got to go with them a little bit and show them the school and spend the day with them. I actually got involved with the field exchange program my junior year. I loved it. I've enjoyed it. I'm now a Globetrotter for Narrative 4. So my experience with it has been an overall a 10 out of 10.
Thank you, Johnna. And last but not least, Pamela.
I'm from the Bronx. I attend University Heights High School. I first got involved with Narrative 4 in my freshman year, and it was a school story exchange. So my entire school, was participating in a story exchange, and I loved the work that Narrative 4 was doing. And I spoke to my guidance counselor and asked her how can I get involved with Narrative 4 because I want to be part of this. She didn't reach out to me until 2 years later, my junior year. She was like, oh, we're looking for Narrative 4 ambassadors. I remember you told me you were interested. So here's the opportunity, come join us and whatnot. And then now I'm a senior and I'm a Narrative 4 student ambassador, and I'm just really glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Pamela. And I want to talk a little bit about these two keywords that you may have heard throughout a lot of the introductions. The first is Globetrotter. So our Globetrotters is a group of 20 students from around the world. Our Globetrotters are from the United States, Ireland, Mexico, South Africa, and Israel as of right now. So again, 20 incredible youth leaders from around the world who come together once a month, sometimes twice a month, to discuss how we can continue to increase the student involvement within Narrative 4, as well as they run our themed exchanges that we have on our website. So after I explain what a story exchange is, and if you're interested in hopping into one of our exchanges, we do have two that we have each month, or sorry, each week. And again, two themed exchanges, but those are actually run, facilitated, and created by our Globetrotters. And then the story exchange is the other big key word that has been used. So for those who have never participated in one of our story exchanges, what we would do is we would partner you up with somebody. It would just be you and your partner, and you would share a 5-minute true story from your life based off of prompts that we would give you. And your partner would do the same exact thing. After about 20 minutes of being together and sharing stories, we would then put you into a group with about 6 to 8 other participants and a facilitator, where you would then retell your partner story in the first person as if you were them. So for example, if Kaytlin and I were partners and we shared stories with one another as we're going into the retelling, I would say, hi, my name is Kaytlin. I'm from Langley, Kentucky, and I go to Floyd Central High School, and vice versa. Kaytlin would say, hi, my name is Alondra Marmolejos, and I'm the programs assistant for Narrative 4. Another keyword that was done throughout the last couple of introductions was the field exchange. So now I want to open it up to our student ambassadors, our field exchange students. And if anybody would like to volunteer, what is the field exchange?
The field exchange is it's when the people from the Bronx and people from Kentucky got to meet for the first time in person. Because before it was just through something called the portal, which was basically it was a FaceTime, but you could see the whole group. They had a portal in their school, we had a portal in our school. This was the first time that we were meeting in person. And if someone could take it away from there, that'd be awesome.
Anyone want to add to what a field? Oh, I see Johnna and Kareem. So we'll go Johnna first and then Kareem.
So when we got to go to New York and Connecticut and Massachusetts in, let's say, the last fall. So was it 2019 or 2020?
2019.
2019. We got to go and see what it was like to be in the environment as the kids in the Bronx. And we got to do some meetings and just really bond with each other the whole time through the field exchange.
Thanks, Johnna. Kareem, do you want to add?
Right. To also add on to John and Ethan, we basically connected with each other, and we ended up going to other schools, and we also facilitated story exchanges with everyone else. And it was a great experience that, like, something I really missed and I wish we had again. And it was really great seeing everybody. It felt like we clicked with each other like brothers and sisters as soon as we saw each other.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Kareem. And I would like to add on that when it comes to our field exchange, it's really where we partner up two schools from around the world. In this case, it was from the United States, one again from University Heights High School in the South Bronx in New York. And then we partnered them up with Floyd Central High School in Langley, Kentucky, or Eastern Kentucky. And their educators who are actually on this call right now, Lillian De Jesus from University Heights and Mary Sloan from Floyd Central, they were able to create a curriculum for a year long, so a school year, and they created a curriculum where their classes met together virtually every single week. And they were able to come up with empathy into action projects every year of the field exchange, where they would like to grow further than just the one story exchange. So there's many people who just do one story exchange and that's it for them, and that's completely okay. But then there are other people who go through the story exchange experience and think, where can I go from here? How can I continue to feel this energy of empathy, this compassion moving forward, whatever it may be? How can I continue to increase it throughout, not just our classrooms, but within our communities? And that's exactly, and even across the country in this case, but that's exactly what our field exchange did. So if you don't mind, field exchange students, let's have a conversation about empathy into action projects that you've been involved in and what those were. So actually looking at everybody here, our seniors who actually participated in the mental health symposium are now all in colleges. So there actually wouldn't be somebody to talk about this particular experience, but I can speak a little bit on it. And so what ended up happening is that our Bronx kids and our Kentucky kids, they wanted to connect over something that was really important in their communities, or something that they wanted to fix within their communities, or something that they were struggling with in both communities. And that ended up being mental health. There's a lot of people in both communities struggling with mental health. So they wanted to come together to talk about stories around mental health and how to continue to build empathy around mental health moving forward. And I want to add as well, when it comes to the field exchange, why it's so important is because we're bringing two completely different schools together. And again, in this case from our country, but bringing them together to break down barriers, to break down stereotypes, and to show that we aren't just one thing or the other. We're many things. And even in a very urban and diverse community and a very rural community can come together and still find those similarities, and also be able to walk in each other's shoes, because they're allowing themselves to kind of break open and have those feelings come out and share that empathy, share those stories, and share those experiences with them as well. So for our field exchange students that are here now, they were able to participate in the Empathy Eats cookbook, which we can talk about, as well as Empathy Rises, which is an Instagram account that they created last year. So if anybody wants to speak on either or, the Empathy Cookbook and the Empathy Rises Instagram account, but also why you chose those things in order to have them as an Empathy into Action project. Yeah, go ahead.
The Empathy Eats project was so the interesting thing about the field exchange was that the Bronx and Langley, Kentucky are two totally different places, 100%. But the point of it was to see that there is similarities within that. You know, from the surface level, you'd say these places are not similar at all. They probably have nothing in common. But what we found out is that we have more in common than what we would have ever thought. And the Empathy Eats project was, we shared recipes. So from our culture, it was chicken and dumplings. You know, dumplings. And then from there, it was like egg and cheese on a roll. Is that what it's called? So it was that. Just like stuff like that. We shared recipes and we made them and we showed each other. It was a Thanksgiving thing. And if anyone would like to elaborate on that further.
Yeah, I'll expand on that. So Ethan mentioned it earlier. So we had a portal. Well, it's still there, but we can't use it. There's a portal where it's a huge FaceTime where it's like inside of, it looks like a bouncy house. I'm sure if you go on the Narrative 4 page, you can see it. We would meet every week, as Alondra also mentioned. And the week before Thanksgiving, I believe it was, we all exchanged recipes with each other and we made those recipes at home. And then on the day before Thanksgiving, or a few days before Thanksgiving, we actually went.
Pamela froze. Kareem, do you mind picking up where she left off?
Right. So an example is my partner's here right now, Johnna. Her and I, we basically spoke to each other. And for example, I gave her my recipe. My recipe, of course, I'm from New York, pizza. Pizza is one of the biggest things over here. And Johnna, she gave me one of her cakes. She said one of her cake was, I believe it was a Butterfinger cake. And I'm not gonna lie, it was one of the best cakes I've ever had. And the cake, it was like Butterfingers with like the chocolate bar and Oreos crushed up together, and then like icing, and then of course like the what's it called, the inside and stuff. And I had it. It was beautiful. And then of course she made the pizza, and when we all connected that one day, which was I believe before Thanksgiving break, we basically had a Thanksgiving feast with each other. We shared each other's foods. We showed what we had, and all of us, we had a great time together.
Thanks, Kareem. And Lee posted in the chat, so I'm looking at the chat for questions, but Lee posted in the chat, how difficult was it to find ingredients in your communities?
I can speak about that. For me, it was very difficult. You'll have to ask Pamela what the name of my recipe was, but she gave me one of her favorite meals, and it was like rice and chickpeas, and she wanted the same exact brands. So I had to go to Food City, which is where we get all of our good groceries, and I had to find the Goya brand. And me and my papa were on FaceTime with Pamela, and we were searching all over that store for all of the specific brands.
Thank you, Kaytlin. And also Mary Sloan put in the chat box plantains. I believe one of our students had to go on Amazon or go online to get a plantain delivered to Kentucky because there were no plantains in sight. Going through that chat box, there is another question from Paul, which is, how has the field exchange changed you? Or even how has Narrative 4 changed you? You can add that one in too.
The field exchange has definitely changed me in a way that, like, we're not so different after all mentality. Because before the field exchange, like I said, the Bronx and Langler are two different places on the surface level. And I didn't think I'd see as many similarities as like me and Kareem. Like Kareem said, we became such good friends, like brothers, immediately, because we had stuff in common, stuff in common that I didn't think that we would before. So yeah, we're not so different after all mentality.
Like the field exchange or Narrative 4 in general changed me in a way. Like I became more of a reasoning person. Like I understand people more than I used to before. And another thing that like really helped me change was also I wasn't really a good presenter, a really good speaker, and I was afraid to present. I would get the nerves inside of me. But now it's like I'm not afraid to speak up, and I'm not afraid to speak about anything, that like any topic. So I feel like Narrative 4 has helped me like grow as a person into like a way better person than I was before.
Thank you, Kareem. And speaking about, youth voices, something that I heard a lot growing up was children are better seen than heard. I don't know if anybody can relate to that statement being said to them as they're growing up. So a lot of times I did feel that my voice wasn't important until I got started with Narrative 4 around 2013. And so I would actually like to speak further, have our students speak further on why are youth voices so important.
I know I'm not a youth at all. I'm kind of far from that, but I just want to jump in and say, Glenn, easy does it. He's laughing too hard at that comment. But, you know, for me, from a business standpoint, we've been so conditioned to and ingrained with what we've been taught, you know, from our society. And I grew up in that same thing. You know, you're better being seen than heard, in some cases, like not seen and not heard. The adults were kind of like would shoo the kids away. Right. But the more we're learning from business is that in order to expand our workforce, to make sure that, you know, real change happens, we need that new voice, that fresh voice. So, you know, for business, your youth, you are our future. Your voices are so important because you give us a brand new lens. You kind of clear up that fog, how we've looked at traditionally things through. So it's so important. I had to just jump in. I have been like tingling all over listening to you guys because it is so a part of who we are, not only with conscious capitalism, but what I do in my day job. So this is fantastic. But I want to hear from you guys, and please feel free to jump in, anyone else as well. But thank you again. Here we go.
Go ahead, Kaytlin.
I was just gonna say, I really do believe that we are the future, and it's really important that kids our age and younger learn that to make change happen, you have to speak up about what you believe. And honestly, my family, where we're from, it's kind of believed that the adults know best, and I'm learning now with Narrative 4 that if I believe something, I should speak up about it.
Thanks, Kaytlin. And Gavin, you wanted to add as well?
Sure. Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, one of the things we used to do at our company was lean things, where you basically trying to figure out a way that you're doing something, how you can do it better. And so one of the things you always did when you formed a group to work on that was you got people who were obviously in that area who did that thing. You got people who were supporting, you know, in areas that supported that thing, whatever that thing was. And then you always got some people from outside who had no idea what was going on. Because then you get that fresh perspective when it comes in and they're like, wait, you're doing what? And why are you doing it that way? You know, and that kind of thing. So that's why that fresh perspective, that's for me, that's one of the reasons why that fresh perspective is important, because you know, if it just doesn't, you know, some of us get, as you spend time in an organization, whatever, you get acculturated to things, you get used to like, oh, this is what's expected of me, this is how it's supposed to work. And then when somebody comes in with a completely different, fresh perspective, and you look at it through their eyes, and you're just like, oh yeah, this is so weird. So, you know, it's that kind of a thing where you get much better, you know, reflection. You kind of see yourself all of a sudden through somebody else's eyes, and it's much better. Gives you a different perspective.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you. And when it comes to our organization too, we have a motto that is share today, change tomorrow. So we believe by sharing today and opening up, and also doing in the sense of Kurt Vonnegut, jumping off the cliff and growing your wings on the way down, right? That we're able to change tomorrow because we're allowing ourselves to feel for another person, to be there and be present and learn from one another. Because when it comes to empathy, a lot of people think that empathy has to be feeling anger or feeling sadness with somebody, but you can laugh and feel empathy. You can smile and feel empathy as well. And empathy doesn't mean that you have to pity somebody, that you have to agree with them, that you have to like them, or that you have to even experience the same thing that they did. But when it comes to empathy, for me personally, I think it's putting your feelings aside so that you're able to be there and be present with another person, another human that's right in front of you. I see Ali has a question in the chat box, and it's, have you ever tried story exchanges between adults and young adults? Any of our students want to answer that question?
I recently did a story exchange with Samar Ali. She is a part of Millions of Conversations, and I've done a story exchange with her, and her and I shared two stories, one about faith and one about violence, and we was able to connect. Even though we're like our age difference is like way apart, we were able to still connect the same way, and we were able to still feel empathy towards each other.
Thank you. Thanks, Kareem. Anyone else?
I actually have not got to experience that, but I have on 2 different occasions got to experience facilitating with an adult and me being a young adult. When we done the field exchange program and we went to Connecticut, I actually got to facilitate a story exchange with I want to say his name is Sal, but I cannot remember. Do not hold me to that. And then this summer we done the McGrawray, the field exchange, or the, sorry, not field exchange, the story exchange about race and how race like has affected you and things in like in your community. And I actually got to do that, and I was nervous. I was so nervous. I've done plenty of story exchanges and I still get nervous. And facilitating, I still get nervous, but I definitely give it it was a good experience to get to learn from myself and learn from my facilitators at the same, my partner facilitator at the same time.
Thank you, Johnna. Thank you. And one of the exchanges that Johnna just mentioned, we have many, many exchanges that we offer when it comes to Narrative 4. It's not just a plain one. But Migrare was a 3-day event. Migrare, that's how you pronounce it in Spanish. It means to move with. And it was a 3-day exchange based off of race and identity. It was intergenerational, people from all over the world, interfaith, interrace, and it was absolutely wonderful. About 60 plus participants, again, 3 days, 2 hours each day. And then we also incorporated art within the exchange. So we picked an art piece and then shared a story around race and identity based off of the prompts that were given. The first day, that first Friday for 2 hours, was more of a get to know you, some icebreakers, just trying to have more of a bonding experience with our participants. That second day, the Saturday, was the actual pairing and sharing with the partners. And then the last day was the retelling, and then a large reflection portion to be able to have a discussion of what this was like and also create a best practice for it, because it was the first time that we really did something online for race and identity. So we wanted to create a best practice to give to our future facilitators to say, this is what worked and this was also what didn't work. And as an organization, we're only 8 years old. We are global. And again, as I mentioned, we are a nonprofit and we're growing every single day. So it's not perfect right now. It will never be perfect, but we continue to grow just as we do as humans as well. And I know that there is about 25 minutes left, and I want to be able to have all of you see what a story exchange would look like if you go through that parent share and the retelling. So we actually have 2 of our students here, Kareem and Johnna, who shared stories prior to coming here, and they're happy to be able to model that for you so you can see what this would look like. So Kareem and Johnna, whenever you're ready.
All right. Hi, my name is Jonah, and this is a story about when I have dealt with stereotypes towards me. So I am from Eastern Kentucky, and usually when people think of the eastern side of Kentucky, they always think of the poor people, the poor side. And like they look at it, you see the abandoned houses, you see places around, and it's not really like, you know, the ideal place where like people will look at you and they think you're proper. So of course, by my voice, people look at me and they make fun of my accent, because my accent is really heavy on the Eastern Kentucky side. And usually when I'm at school or maybe like out places, people might hear my accent and they say, oh, you sound like a redneck, like a true redneck. But I'm not really like a true redneck. I'm just Johnna from Eastern Kentucky. And like we're just nice people, and people just look at me and they always like, I guess they think of me as a person who just too, you know, full of themselves. But like we're just great, kind, warm-hearted people. I could literally go down the block and have dinner with my preacher, have lunch or whatever. There's places like I'm just a, you know, a warm-hearted person. And when people make fun of my accent, you know, it does get to me sometimes, but you know, I just don't let that affect me. And also another time I dealt with that was I was in Florida on vacation with my mother, and I was talking to her, and when a lady passed us, she heard my accent and she was like, oh yeah, that's definitely a Kentucky accent. So it's like, she's just like, even though I am from Kentucky, she just like stereotyped me and said, yeah, I'm from Kentucky. My name is Johnna, and that's my story about me dealing with stereotypes.
Thank you, Kareem. Okay. Hi, my name is Kareem. My story takes place when I was in 7th grade. I had this friend. We had been friends since kindergarten. And we always made jokes, and I never take anything personal because that's just not the type of person that I am. And one day, one of my best friends, I guess he just woke up and chose violence. And by that I mean violence with words. So we went to class, we went to school, it was normal. And then he started making jokes, and it was normal. It was normal, everything was normal. And
beautiful Corona life bringing us into everyone's life. Johnna, that was perfect. That real life happens. Keep going. It's fabulous.
And so he started making jokes about like my complexion and my skin color and my facial features. And he was making jokes, and a specific joke that stood out to me was like, oh, everybody stay away from him. He's going to blow up the school because of the way I looked. And so, we argued and we kind of got into it a little bit because it started bothering me. And after that class, I realized I do not need to put people like that in my life. So I stopped being friends with him. And as time went on, I kind of let it slide off my back. And then in high school, once I got in high school, he came up to me and he was like, Kareem, he said, I apologize for saying that to you. He said, I was just trying to be a class clown is what I was wanting to be. And I truly am sincerely apologetic. And so I was like, it's okay. But what I got from that is I am not what those people say I am. I'm just, I'm from the Bronx. I'm Kareem, and that is my story.
Thank you. Thank you, Johnna, and thank you, Kareem. So now that we've modeled the story exchange and we've answered a few of our own pre-made questions, I know that there have been some people in the chat box, but I would like to open this up more to a Q&A for the students, or if you want any information about Narrative 4, feel free to ask that as well.
I have a comment and a question. Number one, what beautiful, courageous vulnerability that has been screaming in my head right now in a world where sometimes we go out, we put on a good face. Like that's what empathy is all about, is getting deep into the heart of something and being vulnerable. So Johanna, I'm sorry, I know I'm butchering your name right now, but listen, I still get nervous. So always hold that. That's so beautiful. You talked about being nervous. That's wonderful. It's wonderful for you to be in touch with it and just kind of observe yourself in that space. I do have, so that was my comment. Now I have a question. I love when you talked about bringing the empathy into action, and you spoke about the 2 facilitators or 2 teachers that got together with their classes once a week. And then you'd said something about, and then at that point, if we wanted to continue maybe into an action, what does that look like in N4 world? Kind of into act, what does the action part look like besides all of the exchange? That's action as well, but is there projects that happen? Like what, can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Thank you, Heather. So typically what ends up happening when it comes to our empathy into action, it looks different for every single group that we work with. But it's more of the sense, as I said before, you can do the story exchange and then stop there and just keep it there. And it is what it is. It was a good experience and that's it. or you can do the empathy into action going forward, which is that main question at the end. Now that we're feeling what we're feeling now with this empathy and this compassion, and we're feeling so much closer to one another, what should we do with this feeling? How can we expand from here? And in the case of the field exchange, it decided, okay, so this feels good being able to exchange once. Why don't we continue to have this conversation on a weekly basis and grow from there and create projects based off of things that are important to both of our communities, right? And so that's why the field exchange did what they did when they had the mental health symposium, because it was something that was really big in both of their communities. They did Empathy Eats because they both were very interested in food and wanted to continue to come together in that way. And then they did Empathy Rises, which is an Instagram account that we did for about 4 to 6 months. And does anybody from Empathy Rises want to talk about what that Instagram was? Yeah, go ahead, Pam.
I apologize in advance if like I lose connection again, but we started the Empathy Rises account, I want to say like right before the pandemic started. So probably like March, early March. I was actually the first person to post on the page, and I made a post of like us introducing ourselves. Like it was a video. Everyone sent me a video saying like, "Hi, my name is blank, and I'm from like their location." And the purpose of the page is to spread like the awareness of empathy. Like everyone should know about Narrative 4, and that was the main purpose of Empathy Rises.
Thanks, Pamela. Anybody want to add to Empathy Rises?
I would like to add something. When we started Empathy Rises, the coronavirus had just happened. So it kind of was like a relief. We got to let people know that we were all in this together. Our family from the Bronx and their family from here in Kentucky, we were battling the same thing, coronavirus. So we were kind of on the page, like wanting to be positive during the time of full of negativity. I know myself, I experienced depression through it, because I would cry because I couldn't see my friends and I couldn't go out because I'm so used to going and going and going. And when the pandemic happened, everything stopped. So the Instagram page was like a very big relief and positive thing.
Thanks, Johnna. And I know Ethan unmuted himself as well. Go ahead, Ethan.
To further expand on that, it was just a mindset of everything's rough right now. Everything's really starting to get rough. I can't see my friends. We can't see the Bronx, couldn't see the people from Langley, Kentucky. Everything sucks right now, but here's someone trying to change things. Here's someone doing something positive. Here's something to be happy about. And yeah, that's what we were aiming to do. That was our aim.
Thank you, Ethan. Yeah, so to add on to what Ethan was saying, the account was really about changing the narrative. Instead of having something negative about their communities or about what was happening around the world with COVID, it was more of the sense of let's bring positivity to this page and talk about the good of not just what we're doing here within Kentucky and the Bronx, but also what's good within our own communities. What is something positive? And let's bring it forward and show the world this is who we are, not just as Bronx and Kentucky, but as a family, as a united family as well. And I want to quickly add something that happened within at the start time of COVID. There was, and I hope Mary and Lillian are okay with me sharing this story, but with the news happening and the deaths starting, there was a principal from the Bronx who passed away, and instantly the Kentucky kids started asking, is that our principal? Is that our, instead of saying, is that University Heights' principal, is that our principal? Because they made such a big family throughout the year with just meeting every single week. And then before COVID, we were able to have them meet in person for a week, where they would go to each other's communities, but they continue to grow as a family. And even over the summer, because I have them on House Party, that app House Party, even over the summer when they didn't have to communicate with each other, I could see their little accounts popping up. And I'm like, I know that they're there together. I know that they're there, and they still have their Snapchats accounts and they have their group chats. So it's not just throughout the year in the school year. They're continuing to be connected even over the summer, even during breaks when they technically don't have to, but they do because they want to and because they care, they genuinely care about one another. Does anybody want to add to what I just said? Oh, I see that Elizabeth has a question.
Thank you. It's so inspiring. I actually got to see a storytelling in action. I'm here in Portland, Maine, which was powerful. And I wonder, is there something, if you had the magic wand, that if the business community were to support you to further this work, what would that look like from any and all of your perspectives, that we could really help make a bigger difference through your work?
That's a great question. Thank you. Anybody wanna unmute? Yeah, go ahead, Pamela.
I've always thought about this, like, schools should have the option, like, should give students the option to participate in something like this. It should be a class, what do you call it? A primary class for every school, because it's something like everyone needs to like experience a story exchange, because that's like, they're so powerful. Like, I don't know how my life would be without being part of Narrative 4 and without experiencing story exchanges.
Thank you, Pamela. So what I'm getting from your answer is that you want to have a class that is around maybe social and emotional learning, or some sort of empathy building, even deep listening, things like that.
Yeah, I didn't make that clear, sorry. So
no,
I would
you did great.
instill like this, like a Narrative 4 class in every school, if possible.
May I say something to support what Pamela just mentioned? Pamela and the rest of the Narrative 4 ambassadors met before school began at 7:30 in the morning on a Monday. No academic credit, no community service credit. There was nothing given to them other than the fact that they wanted to be there. And we started the week with a Narrative 4 meeting to plan for the field exchange. All of our kids showed up with breakfast, with the bacon, ham, and cheese sandwiches from Pamela's father and mother's bodega. And they were there, yes, a little sleepy, but incredibly ready to do the work because they wanted to be there. So I just mentioned that because this is support of what Pamela is saying. They showed up because they cared, not because they were getting something other. They were getting something from it, which is they care about what they're doing, but it was the experience of it all, not a requirement, not an academic requirement at all. 7:30 in the morning, and now virtually we meet on Fridays at 8 o'clock, which is a little painful, right? But they still show up.
Thank you, Lillian. And I want to make space for Kaytlin's comment in the chat box if people haven't read it. And it says, Narrative 4 teaches us much more than just empathy. The program has helped change and grow my mindset. I'm so blessed to have this opportunity, and I would love for others to have these opportunities as well. And before we move on to, I know Paul has a question. I think Glenn might have a question as well. There's one more in that chat box that I want to get to, and it's from Paige. And Paige says, would you suggest an organization, they are an arts org, but would you suggest an organization to go about, excuse me, let me do that one more time. Would you suggest an organization to go about to find / open the door to young voices to become involved, run a program, or step onto the board, etc.? And I think I'll quickly speak on this. Absolutely. I think youth is so powerful in the sense, and when it comes to our mission, as I mentioned before, at Narrative 4, we harness the power of our story exchange to equip and embolden young adults to improve their lives, their communities, and the world. I think if anything, I am one of the many student ambassadors who are living proof of what that looks like, right? I joined in 2013, and here I am in 2021 as a full-time employee. Narrative 4 didn't just change my life. but it also changed my community, and I'm changing the world through empathy every single day, being able to have this work and do this and be on this call right now. Like, this is just another step forward. So I think if you have the opportunity to gain youth voices, 100%, I think it's very, very valuable. And Glenn, I know that we have 8 minutes left, so I don't want to step on your toes. You let me know what we can do and if Paul can ask his question.
I just wanted to underscore Elizabeth's question. You know, it's really important, empathy, to develop this as a skill set early in your life. And I wish I had done it like a long time ago. So this gathering is tremendous. But having empathy and being able to articulate that is just a really critical part of one's personal development. And of course, one's performance in a business environment is also affected a lot by that. So it's a skill that is clearly understood in this group. And from a conscious capitalism point of view, I run a branding business. We talk about empathy, telling stories of our clients with empathy and understanding, and so it's sort of built into the DNA of what we do in our business, and that's what I love about it. And Ali and Eleanor are two parts of that on the call today, so thank you for just being there. So yeah, that's all. Just keep it up. I mean, it's great. Thanks, Ali.
Another thing I think that you really gain from all of this story exchanging is just the skill of listening. I think that's really important when it comes to any group of people, and especially in work. I think it's a really valuable thing to sit there and listen to what the person has to say through and through, and reflect on it, and then give an answer, and an answer in support, and not necessarily like a defensive answer. So I think that's something that's really valuable that we can take from this and put it into the business world.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ali. Paul, I saw that you had your hand up before, so I want to make sure that we give you time.
So from a leadership perspective, first of all, empathy is probably the most important skill a leader can have. Because at the end of the day, if the people that you're trying to lead don't feel that you care for them, the whole deal is off. It's a trust thing. I love what you guys do. It really is. You can see how powerful it is. But in today's climate, as I'm not going to go into all the details of today's climate, but how do you deal with did you get any pushback from either your own family, from your community when you started this, or when you said, hey, I'm interested in doing this? And then how did you deal with it if you did?
That's a great question. Yeah, Pamela, go ahead.
I personally did not experience any pushbacks. If anything, like I told my family, everyone, like how amazing this program is, and they were like, yes, you got to do it. Like they were very encouraging, and like I love you.
Good.
Thanks, Pamela. Any other volunteers? See, Ethan's going to unmute. Mm-hmm.
I also didn't experience any pushback. I experienced quite the opposite, actually. Last year when I first started getting really into narrative form, I told others about it. I told others what it was about. I told others my experiences because I was really excited about my experiences, and they wanted to be a part of it. And for instance, in the field exchange program, we got new recruits this year, and I would say one or two people joined. Well, first got into narrative for because last year I told them all about it, and they were inspired to join it also.
Thanks, Ethan. Anyone else want to volunteer to say? Yeah, I'll speak a little bit on that too. When I was a student ambassador, and even now with my friends who are becoming teachers, or are just in wanting to have more of an empathetic, compassionate environment, when I tell them what we do, instead of having a little bit of reserved energy, they're just like, no, like that sounds incredible, and how can I get involved? It's typically very positive. Of course, when people come into our story exchanges, some of them are a little reserved, and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this, if I can be vulnerable and I can do this. And we never want to force anybody to participate in an exchange if they're not ready to do so. Again, with the Kurt Vonnegut quote, it's all about jumping off that cliff and growing your wings on the way down. And some people might not be ready to do that. So it's all about allowing yourself to be a part of the process, and also having us meet you halfway. But for the majority of our student ambassadors, they're actually just super excited to get more involved, because they see that in our organization, we are open to their thoughts, we're open to their ideas, and we want to continue to grow with them, not just listening to what they're saying and being like, okay, we'll do it eventually. Not like that. It's more the sense of, let's do this, let's take these ideas, let's have you help us run it, and let's do this together. It's not just N4, it's N4 with our students, and they are our family and they're a part of this as well. And that's the biggest reason as to why we have our Globetrotter cohorts, our 20 youth students from around the world who come together to truly put all of those ideas that they have on board, so that we can continue to move forward throughout the year.
Alondra, I just want to say you've been a wonderful moderator and a host today. You've got a very eloquent manner, and the way you have sort of brought this group together today has been a wonderful experience. As Eleanor said, attractive energy, which I couldn't put it better. But I just want to kind of throw one other seed out there too, is that we talk about the work culture a lot, and the fact that most people work 90,000 hours in their adult lives, and yet most people that are doing that are doing it in a very disengaged manner. There's 2/3 of the workforce are terribly unhappy about what they do. So what we try, the culture that we try and cultivate at Conscious Capitalism, is to create organizations that are driven by purpose, they're driven by the power and the culture. And so we want to offer the people in this call sort of an open invitation to become part of that community that really wants to improve the purpose of what we do and the culture of where we do it. And I, you know, so that this group that Heather and I and Christia are working on, and Ali's helping out as well, is a sort of a young mentor group where we want you to feel that you can have this conversation frequently, and we want you to feel that there is a community of business owners and entrepreneurs that welcome people like you that think that way. So that's the kind of the big picture here today. And so you'll be hearing more from us or Heather or Christia or all of us about what that young mentor group is looking like. It's in its early days yet. And of course, running these sessions are a critical part of that. So anything else? Anything, Heather, did you want to just close it like you always do? Put a bow on it?
I like that. I did want to say this, that when we talk about empathy, you know, we're all here for that reason, right? Is making the world a better place. But empathy, you know, even though we can learn it and we can practice it, it is innate in all of us, somewhere deep, sometimes many layers down. But I just had to say how comical and hysterical it is that our animal community can feel it. Sometimes you can't describe what it is, but man, you walk away from experience and you know it because it can feel it. And look at from Ethan to Glenn to Eleanor, the animals can feel it. They don't know exactly why, but it is attracting. So thank you so much for spreading that energy in the world. Keep up the good work. This is not the end of the conversation. Maybe for right now it is for the top of the hour, but it really is the beginning. So we look forward to inviting you and welcoming you to many more conversations. But thank you everyone for joining. Eleanor, your little bird is so excited. From a hello and a flap from the bird. Everyone have an amazing day. Go do you and be well in your communities. Blessings and thank you so much, with love from all of us. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mary and Lillian.
Thank you so much, everyone.
So sweet.